One of the things that really grabbed me was how much Bartlett stresses self-awareness.
Yeah, I noticed that too. He really hammers home the point that understanding yourself, your strengths, weakness is what drives you. That's the key.
Exactly. And it's not just some vague self-help stuff. He gives you actual tools and exercises to dig deeper. He even talks about therapy and seeking professional help.
That's a refreshing take.
Yeah,
No shame in getting help when you need it. It makes him so much more relatable, especially for those of us who are, let's be honest, still figuring things out.
totally. And this whole self-awareness thing, it lays the groundwork for a lot of his other laws, like building a strong personal brand.
Oh, personal branding. I feel
Yeah.
like a lot of people struggle with that. It can feel so fake, like you're just trying to put on a show.
I get it. But that's where Bartlett's perspective is different. He doesn't see it as some shallow marketing tactic. It's more about recognizing your unique value, what you bring to the table that no one else can.
So it's less about creating some fake persona and more about owning your genuine strengths, what you're passionate about.
Exactly. He sees it as an extension of your true self. And in today's world, whether you're an entrepreneur or climbing the corporate ladder, he argues that a strong personal brand is crucial.
It's like having a compass for your career, guiding your decisions, helping you connect with the right opportunities.
Right on. But I can see how all this talk about self-awareness and personal branding could feel, I don't know, a little self-centered.
Yeah, a bit me focused.
But here's the thing. Bartlett balances that individual focus with this emphasis on building real relationships, contributing to something bigger than yourself.
So it's not just about climbing your own ladder. There's the social conscience woven in there too.
Definitely. He's got a whole section on leadership where he dives into empathy, compassion, and making a positive impact.
I like that. It's easy to get sucked into that cutthroat mentality where it's all about winning at all costs.
I know what you mean.
Mm.
But Bartlett, he challenges that. He sees true leadership as inspiring and empowering others, building a team motivated by something more than just profits.
So leading with purpose and integrity, not just power. It's refreshing.
It is, and it loops back to that self-awareness piece, right? He says you can't truly lead others until you've figured out your own values, what you stand for.
Lead authentically, not just play the part. But how does he suggest putting all this into practice? Does he give concrete strategies, frameworks?
He does. He gets into the nitty-gritty of building strong teams, creating a positive company culture, even honing your communication skills.
Okay, so it's not just airy-fairy, feel-good stuff. There's actual substance.
Oh, yeah. He gets very practical, even offering advice on things like, running meetings, giving constructive feedback, that sort of thing.
One thing I appreciate about Bartlett is how he sees the connection between our personal lives and our professional success. They're not separate entities, right?
You got it. He dedicates a good chunk of the book to mental health, resilience, forming healthy habits. It's all connected.
It's like he's saying you can't build a successful business if you're running yourself ragged, neglecting your well-being.
Exactly. Sleep, exercise, mindfulness, taking time to recharge these are crucial, not optional.
A holistic view of success, recognizing the whole person.
Yeah.
But does he have anything to say to those of us who aren't, let's say, the typical go-getter type?
You mean more introverted, less driven by the usual markers of success?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
He does, actually. There's a whole chapter called The Law of the Gentle Giant. He argues that quiet confidence, a genuine desire to help others that can be just as powerful.
That's reassuring. You don't have to fit into some predefined mold to make an impact.
Right. He uses examples of successful leaders who are known for their humility, their empathy, their quiet determination.
What about failure? Does he address that? I mean, setbacks are a part of life, right?
Oh, for sure. One of the most powerful parts of the book is where he talks about his own experiences with failure, how he learned to see it as an opportunity.
So not avoiding failure, but learning from it.
Exactly. He argues it can actually spark innovation, make you more resilient. It forces you to reassess, learn from mistakes, come back stronger.
It's not the falling down, it's the getting back up.
That's it. Honestly, this book, it's not just about business success. It's like a guide to living a fulfilling life, both professionally and personally.
It really feels like a roadmap to navigate the complexities of life, achieve success on your own terms.
I totally agree. He blends insights from psychology, philosophy, and his own experiences to create this framework.
It's a lot to digest. What were some of the specific things that really resonated with you?
Radical honesty is a big one. He talks about being brutally honest with yourself about your strengths, your weaknesses, your fears, everything.
Sounds terrifying, but also liberating, doesn't it?
It is. He argues that radical honesty is the foundation for making genuine choices, building real relationships, living a life that's true to yourself.
It makes you wonder, how does that play out in his own life? What kind of stories or experiences does he share?
He actually opens up about struggling with imposter syndrome, which I found pretty surprising.
Imposter syndrome, the feeling of being a fraud, even when you're successful.
Yep, that's it. He talks about feeling like he didn't belong despite his accomplishments.
Wow, it's humanizing to hear someone so successful admit to those insecurities.
It is. And he's very open about it, which is what makes him so relatable. He talks about how he overcame it by focusing on his strengths, building a solid support system, and, just learning to celebrate his wins.
It's encouraging to know that even those who seem to have it all figured out still struggle with self-doubt.
Totally. And his willingness to share those struggles makes his advice so much more powerful, don't you think? It's not coming from some untouchable guru. It's coming from someone who's been there.
Absolutely. So we've got self-awareness, personal branding, purpose-driven leadership, radical honesty. Anything else that really stood out?
Oh, the law of the volcano, for sure. It's all about intense focus, unwavering commitment. He compares it to a volcano building pressure over time until it erupts.
Okay, I can see how that applies to achieving goals. It's not just about working hard, it's about laser focus.
Right. He believes most people spread themselves too thin, but when you pour all your energy into one specific goal, you create this unstoppable momentum.
Sounds intense, but also incredibly effective.
It can be. But remember, Bartlett emphasizes self-awareness throughout the book. He's not advocating for burning yourself out. It's about knowing your limits, taking breaks, and using the volcano strategically.
Finding that balance between intense focus and sustainable effort.
Exactly. It's about knowing when to crank up the heat and when to let things cool down a bit.
I'm seeing how these different laws all work together. They're not just standalone ideas, they create this whole framework for success.
That's the beauty of it. It's not about cherry-picking the ones that sound good. It's about understanding how they all connect.
This is already giving me a lot to think about.
Me too. It's a dense book, but in a good way. There's so much to unpack and apply to our own lives.
Before we get too carried away, let's pause here for a moment. We'll be right back to continue our deep dive into the Diary of a CEO and see what other gems of wisdom we can uncover.
All right, welcome back. Ready to dig deeper into Bartlett's laws?
Absolutely. Before the break, we were talking about self-awareness and finding balance, but I'm curious, how do we actually put those principles into practice?
Well, one thing Bartlett emphasizes is having a clear vision for your life. Not just setting goals, but defining your values, knowing your purpose, having a roadmap for where you want to go.
So it's like having a North Star guiding your decisions.
Yeah, exactly. But figuring that out in today's world can be tough, right? It feels chaotic.
Totally. Where do you even start?
Bartlett suggests starting with reflection, spending time thinking about your values, what truly matters to you, the impact you want to make.
That makes sense. If you don't know what you stand for, it's easy to get lost.
Right. Then, he says, set ambitious goals that align with that vision. Aiming high pushes you out of your comfort zone, forces you to grow.
But what about those of us who aren't big risk takers? Setting huge goals can be kind of scary.
I hear you. Bartlett gets that. Fear is natural, but he says, don't let it paralyze you. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's acting despite it.
So acknowledge the fear, but don't let it control you. I like that. But okay, you have your vision, your goals. How do you actually get from here to there?
That's where action comes in. Bartlett's a huge believer in consistent action, even small steps. Momentum builds, and those little actions add up over time.
So it's not about waiting for the perfect moment, it's about just starting.
Exactly. And he emphasizes discipline, consistency. Motivation comes and goes, but building habits and routines, that's what keeps you moving even when it's tough.
It's the long game that counts.
You got it. And Bartlett also stresses adaptability, being willing to adjust course along the way. The path to success is rarely a straight line right now.
You have to be able to pivot when things change, like navigating a ship. You have your destination, but you adjust the sails depending on the wind.
Perfect analogy. And then there's resilience, how you deal with setbacks. Bartlett says they're inevitable, but it's how you respond that defines you.
So bouncing back from those bumps in the road.
Exactly. He encourages viewing failures as chances to learn and grow. even embracing failure as part of the process.
That's an important message, especially in a culture obsessed with success and perfection. Failure is normal. It's part of the journey.
Absolutely. Bartlett also talks about the people you surround yourself with. They have a huge impact on your mindset, your beliefs, your success.
So building a support system, people who lift you up, challenge you, keep you accountable.
Yes. And being aware of negative influences too, having the courage to distance yourself from people who drain you or hold you back.
But how do you find those positive people? Build those connections.
He suggests being proactive, seek out mentors, join communities of like-minded people, nurture the relationships you already have.
Intentionally connecting with people who share your values, your goals.
Exactly. And being that kind of person for others too, a good friend, a supportive colleague, someone who contributes. The more you give, the more you receive.
It's a reminder that success isn't just about you. It's about the connections you make, the impact you have on others.
Right on. Bartlett also talks about giving back to your community, making a positive difference in the world. True success is about more than just money or status. It's about using your talents to make things better.
I love that he brings in that social conscience. It's inspiring to see someone who's achieved so much in business advocating for a more ethical, purpose-driven approach.
Definitely. And it makes me think this book isn't just for CEOs or entrepreneurs. It's for anyone who wants a more fulfilling, impactful life no matter what they do.
We've covered so much ground. Self-awareness, goal setting, resilience, building relationships, finding balance. It's a lot.
It is, but I think that's the point. It's a holistic approach to life and success.
Before we wrap up, I'm curious about something. We've talked about individual success, but does Bartlett offer any insights into building a strong company culture?
He does. There's a whole chapter on the law of the tribe. He believes a company's culture is its most valuable asset. Creating a positive, supportive environment is crucial for attracting talent, fostering innovation, achieving long-term success.
So it's not just about perks and fun office spaces.
Nope. It goes deeper. Bartlett says it starts with shared values, a clear vision, a sense of purpose that goes beyond profit.
Creating a sense of belonging where employees feel valued, respected, inspired to do their best work.
Exactly. And open communication, transparency, embracing feedback, both good and bad.
It sounds like a culture of continuous improvement where everyone's empowered to contribute.
Right. And he emphasizes celebrating wins, big and small, recognizing people's contributions.
So an environment where people feel appreciated, motivated, connected to something bigger than themselves.
Yes. And he believes that translates into happier customers, stronger brand loyalty, and ultimately greater financial success.
Investing in your people. IS, investing in your business.
Absolutely. And it's not just for CEOs either. Anyone who's part of a team or organization, no matter the size, can benefit from these insights.
We've covered so much ground in this deep dive, I feel like we need a whiteboard to map it all out.
Yeah.
But before we get overwhelmed, let's take a moment to reflect on what we've learned and distill some key takeaways for our listeners. Okay, we're back, and I've got to say, I'm still processing all this wisdom from Stephen Bartlett.
It is a lot, right? But that's what makes the Diary of a CEO so good, I think. It's not some quick fix or a one-size-fits-all thing. It really dives deep into what it takes to build a successful, fulfilling life.
Yeah, what's sticking with me is how much he emphasizes not just the external stuff, but building inner strength, resilience, finding your purpose.
You nailed it. It's like a thread throughout the whole book. True success starts from within. It's an inside-out game.
So before you can conquer the world, you have to conquer yourself.
Exactly. Understanding your strengths, facing your fears, developing that growth mindset where you see challenges as learning opportunities.
It's a constant process, this personal growth thing.
Absolutely. It's a journey. It takes self-reflection, pushing past your comfort zone, and being okay with being vulnerable.
Speaking of vulnerability, I was really struck by how open Bartlett is about his own struggles, his setbacks.
Me too. It makes him so much more human, right?
Sure.
And his advice just hits different when you know he's been through it too. It's not just theory.
It's like he's saying, look, I've messed up too, I've had doubts, but here's what I learned.
Exactly. I mean, think about the story he shared about dealing with imposter syndrome. Feeling like a fraud, even though he's achieved so much.
That resonated with me. I think we've all felt that way at some point, that sense of self-doubt, like we're not good enough.
Totally. But he didn't let it hold him back. He recognized those feelings, but he didn't let them define him.
So it's not about pretending those feelings don't exist. It's about managing them, not letting them take over.
Yeah. And he actually gives some good tips for dealing with imposter syndrome. Focusing on your strengths, celebrating your wins, having a strong support system in place.
Having those people who believe in you, it makes a difference.
It does. And not just cheerleaders, but people who will challenge you, push you to be better.
It's not just about what you achieve, it's about who you become along the way. That's a big takeaway for me.
I love that. And Bartlett really drives that point home, doesn't he? The journey matters just as much as the destination. It's about building character, relationships, the right mindset.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into the diary of a CEO, what are some key things our listeners should take away?
I think self-awareness is huge. Really taking the time to know yourself, strengths, weaknesses, values, goals. It's the foundation.
It's like that old saying, know thyself. Figure out who you are, what you want, and then make choices that align with that vision.
Then take action. Don't wait for the perfect time or the perfect plan. Just start moving towards your goals, even if it's just baby steps.
That momentum builds, right?
Yeah.
As you start seeing progress, it keeps you going.
Right. And don't be scared of failure. It's going to happen. It's part of the process. The key is learning from those setbacks, using them to grow.
Develop that resilience, that growth mindset where you see obstacles as temporary.
And finally, build those meaningful connections. Find your tribe, the people who lift you up, support you, challenge you to be better. Invest in those relationships and be willing to give back. Make a difference.
Bartlett's book is a great reminder that success isn't just about external achievements. It's about building a life of purpose, meaning, impact. It's a journey anyone can take.
It really is.
Well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive, but be sure to check out the show notes for links to Stephen Bartlett's work and the other resources we mentioned.
And tell us what you think. Share your takeaways from this episode on social media. We'd love to hear from you.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep striving to be the best version of yourselves.